Who wants some Wang? Well, if you've ever played the original Shadow Warrior, you've probably been asking for more Wang since, because the original game was really fun. So when Shadow Warrior was originally announced, fans got excited. Personally, I thought the game was fun, but lacking the charm that the original had. Let me explain. As far as I know, the game is a re-imaging of the original, and the only thing that really remains constant is the main character, Lo Wang. Here, he's a mercenary that was sent to retrieve a sword called the Nobitsura Kage, which you'll learn in time has some extremely dangerous properties embedded in it. Things go downhill very quickly, and Lo Wang needs to get to the bottom of the situation, which includes a bunch of pissed off rival ninjas, mercenaries, and even demons. But he's not alone. In the first stage of the game, Lo Wang encounters a demon named Hoji, who originally assists in capturing Lo Wang, but shortly afterwards offers his assistance in retrieving the katana. The story is fairly linear, and is a throwback to older games in which you mostly run around straight stages, slaying demons that threaten you, and searching for the occasional secret area. There are other things to help make sure the game isn't completely average, of which I'll get to momentarily. But first, the gameplay. If you haven't noticed, Shadow Warrior is an FPS, but one that isn't entirely focused on firearms. Yes, you do get access to your standard assortment of a pistol, shotgun, submachine gun, rocket launcher, crossbow, flamethrower, and some others I can't remember at this particular second. But your melee weapon, a sword, is where the real fun comes in, and it's a feature of the game that you will spend a lot of time with. You would start with a basic katana, but eventually as you find pieces of the Nobitsura Kage, it'll become more powerful and get some extra perks built into it. You may think that melee combat would be fairly boring since you're just swinging it wildly, and that would be it. But this is Shadow Warrior, not your normal run-of-the-mill FPS game with a boring melee weapon. Sure, you have your basic slashes, but in addition, you can learn different techniques to help make the sword fighting fun. You can learn an attack that lunges the blade forward with immense power, destroying the statues that block your path. You can swing your sword in a 360-degree horizontal slash. You can even throw a wave of energy in front of you, giving your katana a sort of ranged attack. These abilities are done easily by pressing a direction twice and then an attack button. Each ability has its own button combination hard-coded into the game, and if you attempt to perform a move that you haven't learned yet, the game will simply tell you this. With all these abilities you can learn, it's very possible to run around the game using nothing but your sword. It'll make the bosses extremely time-consuming, but it is possible. Before I get onto the guns, there are other abilities you can learn, all by using your chi. You learn a simple healing skill right from the beginning, and this is extremely helpful throughout the game, especially when you level it up a bit. But in addition to this, you can learn an attack that pushes all enemies away with a shockwave, one that hovers weaker enemies helplessly in the air for a few seconds, and one that gives you a higher defensive shield for a short time. Personally, I didn't use these skills nearly as often, other than the healing perk, but each one can be leveled up individually after purchasing the skill with either karma points, which is like the experience system of the game, or chi crystals, which can be found in special areas, usually secret, and are a one-for-one trade-off for a perk. In addition, you can upgrade your weapons using cash that you can find throughout the game, although this will require a bit of digging around the environment, since it's not automatically given you like the karma is. As for karma, you're awarded basic karma points for kills and a bonus after you finish a battle. The bonus is based on a 5-star rating, which shows how well you did. The more damage you do, the less you take, and the more techniques you perform, the better you'll be rated, and therefore the more karma points you'll receive. So you want to vary your attacks, go for headshots, and other special kills to increase your score. Let me move on to the guns. Each one has 3 possible upgrades, with one of them being an alternate firing mode. Some are useful, others aren't. I personally love dual wielding the Uzis, but thought the shotgun lacked power, even in its alternate mode. Ammo is plentiful, but if you really have the need, you can purchase ammo in the upgrade screen. I have never needed to do that once. But here's the interesting thing. Usually, I'm not a crosshair person. When it can be disabled, I do. There are iron sights present in Shadow Warrior, which I'm all for. But when the iron sights aren't accurate? What's the point? Look at this. Your shots fire above the iron sights. Kinda defeats the purpose if you ask me. So reluctantly, I decided to keep the crosshair enabled. I felt so dirty doing so, but it was necessary if I wanted accurate shots. Other than that though, your guns are your basic death-dealing tools. So let me talk about the humor of the game, one of the shining parts of the original build engine game. Lo Wang is constantly conversing with his new pal Hoji, and their banter can be funny at times, but to me, much of it seemed downgraded from the comedy of the original. This is because a lot of the game, the humor seems to be trying to be politically correct. You'll get a chuckle here and there, but it wasn't anything that really made me piss my pants. Instead, I got more laughs from the fortune cookies in the game. Here, they only give you a minimal health boost, but the comments are always worth it. Whenever you find one, you just think, alright, here we go. What's in store for me now? Here's a few of them. So what else can I say about the game? Well, there's a few small things. For one, the game's combat is extremely fast-paced. I already went over the basics, but let me elaborate a bit on the enemies and mechanics. Again, using the sword is extremely satisfying, especially when blood and body parts are flying all over the place. Of course, explosions are fun too, but things can be a bit frantic when your enemies start getting pissed off. They can enter a rage, in which case they'll start taking more damage before falling, and they'll also be much stronger offensively, so you want to eliminate these creatures first. Your shockwave attack can wipe the anger from some of the enemies once it's powered up, so you might want to keep this in mind when you're trying to figure out what skills to purchase. Some enemies can be fairly annoying to fight though. The shielded bastards aren't too bad because their shields can either be destroyed or you can fight around them. But then you have these large, hulking demons that can throw a projectile that stuns you and pulls you close for a powerful hit. I'm surprised I don't hear it yelling, "Get over here!" But the worst offender is the armored foes. They have a weak point on their back that is hard to hit, and they can take quite a bunch of bullets before exploding. I also don't know if sword blasts actually hurt them, as it didn't seem like it, but I have no proof whether it does or doesn't. You may die a few times when fighting two of these guys, because they hit hard. I guess I should talk about the bosses. They're all similar, which is a bit disappointing. You enter a large arena with weapons and health kits, and a large suit of armor appears. You have to blast the glowing areas until the armor shatters and the inside is vulnerable. Shoot and deplete this life bar to destroy this section of the boss and take off a chunk of its overall life. Rinse and repeat. Yes, you can use the ranged sword attack to do this, but bullets are way more effective, especially if you have the Twin Uzi perk. And with ammo repeatedly spawning on the outskirts of the stage, you'll never have to purchase any. It's a bit disappointing that all bosses function this way, but it's what we got, and what we'll have to deal with when playing the game. The game itself lasts for about 10 hours, and that even includes the times I got lost or simply searched the stages looking for secrets. Getting lost may seem foolish in a game that is primarily a point A to point B affair, especially when it flashes doors and switches to tell you where to head to, but there are times where you have no freaking clue on where you're supposed to go, and the next area is out of any logical view. This doesn't happen so often though, so don't let this simple thing stray you away from the game. Shadow Warrior is, for the most part, a worthy reboot of the original game. It's got great combat, although it could be construed as repetitive in the final stages, especially during one of the final areas where the enemies just don't stop coming. The humor is hit or miss, but the story itself is fairly engaging. The upgrade system does a great job in allowing you to personalize your combat style. It's really a shame that the game had to be more politically correct though. Otherwise, I feel like the humor could have rivaled Deadpool. If you like FPS games but want a bit more focus on sword fighting, Shadow Warrior could be the game for you. Final score? 8 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.